How much do you trust the natural process of learning? Today we're talking about homeschooling. Hello, this is Mandy, and I am the host of Get a Grip with Mandy King Adams. So I have 4 children, and they were born in 3 different countries. So we have had an interesting ride in our homeschool journey so far. Back in 2014 and 2015, we moved from Australia back to South Africa for a year. It was meant to be a permanent move back, but things didn't quite work out for us. And we moved back to Australia again after 1 year in South Africa and picked up homeschooling again. We're only educating one of our kids at that stage, added in the second one, and we had started with something like the ACE method, the PACES, and the first 6 months was, well, let's just say we needed the structure that the PACES provided, and that the association that we had joined helped us to get registered and so on. We had started in New South Wales again, and it was a useful start. But we did find after 6 months that it was kind of boring, not in line with my kids' learning styles or interests or anything of that nature. And so we dropped that and decided to take the risk and create our own curriculum. However, after having moved internationally twice, adding our 4th child to our family and living in a city which we had not yet done before, along with having my mother-in-law live with us, all of that within the span of like 18 months, just pushed me over the edge. My mental health does take some, life takes its toll on my mental health sometimes. And that was one of my first major life dips, apart from my postnatal depression a few years before that. And so we actually decided to put our children into a small Christian school. That was the last term of 2016, and they stayed in that small Christian school the whole of 2017 and loved their experience. In 2017, I rested and looked after myself, looked after my youngest child, and recuperated enough that at the end of the year, when I was listening to a talk by a mentor of mine at the time who was saying that I can raise champions in my own home. And it made me think, the lifestyle that we had at that time, where the kids had to catch the school bus at 8 in the morning and were only back home again at 4 in the afternoon, and then it was homework and baths and supper and family time and so on, was actually quite minimal. So the lifestyle factor was a major part to play in the decision, as well as me just wanting more influence over my children, not having somebody else raise them and install other people's values into my kids. And so we brought them home. So 2018 was our first year back to homeschooling. We have been back at it ever since. But I'll tell you what happened to us in that time, right near the beginning of that time again. So my my 3rd daughter at the time, I still have a 3rd daughter. She's still my 3rd daughter to this day. She did not wear a dress again after that school uniform was put away. She has worn shoes a very minimal amount of time since that day that we put the school uniform away. She just suddenly blossomed into a very nature-orientated, very curious bush girl. And has remained very much like that since. My son, who was, now it was 2018, he was in year 2. I'll backtrack just a little bit. In that year, with them being in school, they took up the challenge of completing their readers every term. So the school was offering incentives. If they read 80 to 100 readers in a school term, they would get a special prize, a book prize. And my kids were up for that. They appreciated the competition and the accountability, and my husband had worked out, okay, it would be 2 readers a day, and they were just basic readers, so it was very doable. And so all 3 of my children, I think they were 9, 8 and 6 or so, around about like that at the time. And they were very happy to win their book prizes at the end of each term. Going back into the homeschooling, my son, in that first year back at home, who was then 9 years old, he turned 9 that year, he refused to pick up a book. He loved looking at... Oh no, that only came later. Yeah, he wanted to be read too. We enjoyed our family read aloud times. We worked our way through the Little House on the Prairie, and I think we started the Narnia series as well. And somebody gifted my daughter the Narnia compendium, so like all the Narnia stories in one. And while my son did read game cards, I needed confirmation that he could still read and so on. Of course, he doesn't forget how to read, but I would make him write my shopping list down for me, and he would read the game cards when we were playing games, and nothing major outside of that. But I just needed to step back and watch and observe. I did not want him to be forced back into reading when it was not a natural thing for him to want to pick up a book at this stage. But at the end of that year, when that Narnia compendium was given, and my daughter was reading, they were kind of reading it together. She was reading it out loud to him, but then in the evening she would go and read it by herself, and he was getting frustrated because she was getting ahead. And so he actually picked up the book and he started reading it for himself. He would come and check a word here and there with me, but he actually read it himself. And that's what got him back into reading. There were also Asterix comics and Tintin comics, which I don't think he read much, but he loved looking at the pictures. He just wasn't drawn to the words a whole lot. But that end of that year, he started actually reading them. So, he reads every single night now. He loves reading. And I'm just so thankful that I did not push his my need to see him reading. He didn't feel it was a need at that time, and I'm so thankful I trusted that. So don't give up on your kids. If they are not reading by themselves, if they're not loving that, if they're doing something that challenges you, and I'll come back with a few more stories in another episode, but really focusing on your child's personality and their interests, taking them to places like the library and just hanging out there, showing them that you are interested in books, giving them permission to just be in their season. And maybe it's a season of contraction. For him, the reading side of things was a contracted season, like small. But other areas of his life were in an expansion season because he could have that freedom to just be himself and, get outside with his bicycle or on the trampoline, use his big motor skills to develop them further so that those fine motor skills would actually naturally follow. And we did allow boredom. We had boundaries on screen times, much less screen time than what we currently have, because I did not want them to get stuck on the screens when they were so young and still developing their interests and skills and so on. And so, yeah, I will come back to this, but we have had a very strong, we have a very strong family of readers. And that, I believe, is due to the fact that we did not pressure them, that we just observed and we modeled. We did lots of read alouds in the evenings as a family, no TV on, reading the books instead, having the beautiful, innocent family time. So I encourage you to try that out. If your family is not in that zone of receiving stories, read alouds, there's also audiobooks that, kids can color in while they are listening to a story. They don't have to sit dead still next to you on the couch twiddling their thumbs. There are things that they can do with their hands while their brains are listening to the story. So try it out and let me know what you think of that. You can email me at getagripwithmandy@gmail.com and let me know how your child goes. What are they naturally learning that you have actually been a little bit doubtful of or skeptical that they will even pick up that new skill? But yeah, sometimes time is actually the thing that they need, and trust that the process is happening. Take care. See you next time.